That's personal.
No, no. So I do golf with a lot of my clients, okay, and I don't take it easy on them at all. I try to demolish them on the golf course every time. Okay.
What's up, guys? New podcast today. Trying to catch up and just do a ton of podcasts, get new content out there, compete with the other hosts out there. But this is a good podcast for the people on the agency track. Michael has done a full service agency. He's kind of a natural born entrepreneur, hates working for a boss. So if you identify with that, this might be a good podcast. Also, if you're into golf, he's done a couple side hustles there. But yeah, he's just going to give some feedback on creating an agency, full service. So really useful for anybody specifically on that track. Also, I'm uploading videos daily to my new channel, Productivity Hacks, Entrepreneurship Advice. I'm going to link everything here. Some of it actually got banned on TikTok. So, check out the Instagram Reels link for that. Appreciate a follow
Could
and
you
talk
please?
soon. Enjoy.
Oh, it's the one podcast. We got Mike here from Mobile. I think it's going to be an interesting podcast. We're talking about his various companies getting involved in entrepreneurship in general, maybe a little bit of golf with golf heads out there. But Michael, do you want to give people just like a short intro to yourself and a background to kind of, just give them some context on who you are and what you're doing?
Yeah, for sure. So I am originally from Texas. I grew up playing basketball. That was my big thing. Like it was all about basketball. And then later on, I got into golf. When Tiger Woods was kind of coming out and making it really cool, and I just got hooked on it. Growing up, I've always been very entrepreneurial. Like I knew I was a rule breaker, and I knew that I was not going to make it in a structured, kind of work environment where I'm being told what to do, when to do it, when to come in, and so on. And I knew that going in. So I've always, thought about business ideas and entrepreneurship. Funny thing is, like, the very first business I've ever tried, and I had no clue what I was doing, was dabbing into e-commerce, like way back in the day. And then I researched like what things sell the best. And I found that like the tennis serving machine sold really well, right? And I know nothing about tennis. I don't play tennis, whatever, but I was like, oh, let's try that. Well, anyway, long story short, it failed miserably, but that's kind of like the starting point of like, getting into it, trying something, learning, failing, picking yourself back up. But yeah, that was my first dab into entrepreneurship. I went to, San Antonio for college. Now I live in Charleston, South Carolina, and I am running an agency right now called Mobyle.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought up like just being born kind of as an entrepreneur, not fitting old. The past like
Right.
5 people interviewed were all people who were like, they weren't entrepreneurs originally, or maybe they were like problem solvers. I'm more of
Mhm.
that, right? Just, I don't fit into that structured environment. So that's interesting. So, but when you got out of school, like, did you go into starting your own business right away, or did you pursue some
No,
type of?
no, great question. So when I got out of school, I really didn't know what I was going to do. Right. I was looking at maybe going overseas to Korea to play pro basketball. But I really didn't want to like not be here in the States and, do all that kind of stuff. So my first ever job out of college was I was an employment specialist for Goodwill Industries. So I was helping people with disabilities, find work and job coaching them and placing them in jobs. And it was fulfilling in like being able to help those people, but it was not like what I wanted to do, right? It was not something that I knew I was going to stay long term. I was during this whole time, I was always thinking about different things and ideas. And I had a big passion for golf. So my ever first tech startup, I was creating an app for golfers. I was a way for golfers to connect and, uh, get tee times booked and connect with golf courses and so on. And when I started that, I had no clue what I was doing. It was just, just learning, failing, and doing that kind of stuff. But the interesting thing is, you know, just putting yourself out there made an incredible difference, right? I had really smart people want to join my team, want to get on my board. I had pro golfers that connected with me. You know, I had like David Duval, Jesper Parnevik, Christina Kim, all these LPGA and PGA Tour golfers, you know, communicating with me and stuff. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. Like, I'm nobody. I have no idea what I'm doing, but, you know, let's just go with
Nice.
it. But yeah, that was my first, dab into starting a tech startup.
Okay.
And yeah, but I learned a lot. It was incredible hard work. I had no life because I was still working a full-time job and then trying to build this when I wasn't working. But everything that I went through, it really taught me everything I needed about entrepreneurship, how to run a business, not to be afraid of failure and, just having grit. And I think that's one of the most important things about being an entrepreneur. You just got to have grit. You got to have thick skin, and you just got to know you're going to get, kicked in the teeth a lot of times. You just got to get up and shut yourself off and keep going.
Yeah. So a quick elaboration. The name of that company was Foreplay, right?
Yeah. So it started as Golf Along. That was the first name. And then we switched over to Foreplay. And
Nice.
Foreplay, I know it's a weird sounding name, but in golf, you play as a foursome, so four golfers. So it would spell, FOUR and then play Foreplay.
So you were doing that as a side hustle, or did you eventually go full time on?
Yeah. So I started it as a side hustle just because I had to pay my bills. So I was working full time. And then, when I got home from work from like 6 p.m. to 2 in the morning, it was all about building, the business, right? So I literally had no life. I had no money really, wasn't really making the kind of money that I wanted to. So it was a struggle, right? It was living paycheck to paycheck in a tiny little apartment and just grinding and figuring things out. And, a lot of no's, being told to me. I was reaching out to a gazillion investors, trying to raise some funds for this and so on. And, I just got no after no after no, but I really truly believed in it. So I just kept going and ultimately, got connected with the right people, pro golfers and investors, raised some funds. But again, I didn't really know what I was doing. So looking back at it now, I probably I know for sure I brought on some wrong people that weren't the best fit. And what I didn't realize, back then that I realize now is whenever you take somebody's money or whenever you bring somebody onto your team, you pretty much, you become
Yeah.
married to them, right? Like it's like,
Yeah.
all right, here we go.
Okay.
And yeah. So,
You're speaking my language. So I do
yeah.
want to that a little bit. But before we even get into that, I think, a theme that I've kind of seen, and I think that is best is we all have like these passions or sort of lifelong hobbies or just things that we're into. I think that generally works best for people to start a business with that because
Mhm.
it's just it's most natural. Would you, even though you're not doing it right now, right? Like you're getting back into it, of course, with the product, which we will talk about at the end. But would you say overall it was a good experience and good to use that kind of hobby that you had to get in and sort of teach yourself entrepreneurship?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
100%, right? Because looking back at it now, and I tried my first ever kind of side hustle business when I was trying to sell tennis serving machine, just because it said like serving machine sell really well. I had no passion in tennis. I didn't care. I could care less. The only thing I thought about was it's going to sell a lot of, and I'm going to make a lot of money. But I have no desire for tennis. And that's going to be a big factor in, if you stay with something or once, things get a little difficult, are you going to quit? Right. So yeah, you have to find your passion. You have to do something you truly believe in, because otherwise it's not going to work, right? You're not going to stick with it. You're not really going to put your full effort, your whole heart into it. And yeah, with golf, like, because I was so passionate about golf and I loved the game and I was, just a golf junkie, that made me work from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. every single day for years. If I didn't like golf, there's no way I would have stuck with it like that.
Nice. Yeah, I overall agree with that. So so you're talking about bringing on people where it's kind of like, you're sort of tied to them. Were these co-founders, investors, or employees?
Yeah,
What was
both.
the
Yeah, both
right?
co-founders, mentors, investors, you know, just in the beginning, obviously it's very, very exciting, right? To be like, oh my God, this person who has this experience and has done all this wants to join my team. And it makes you feel good, right? Or, oh, wow, this person wants to invest money into your company. Oh, wow, and then you start thinking about, we made it. It's going to be great, blah, blah, blah. You're thinking about like the Google or Facebook or whatever back in the day. It's
I
going to
think
be
about the
crap.
best case scenario.
Right. Yep.
Breathe.
But yeah, it wasn't like that at all. It was, reality hits very quickly. One of the, biggest reasons why I guess I am an entrepreneur is because I don't like to be put like in a box and be told what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. But when when you bring people on, especially when you take their money, you essentially are working for them, and they're telling you when to do it, and their vision may not be your vision. And it was just a lot of headbutting and things like that. So again, I'm grateful that I went through it, but hindsight now, I would have, if I could go back, I would do it totally differently, obviously. But again, it helped me, get to where I am now and be able to launch a mobile and, just, learn from mistakes. And I'm going to make plenty more mistakes, but that's part of being a business owner.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting you bring that up. It's like, I got involved in entrepreneurship basically like same time you did, 2015, something like that. And like the one thing that I've noticed as time goes on is just a lot of people who you bring in to the vision of entrepreneurship, they're thinking about like the Facebook, Google scenario. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you kind of want to sell them on that because you're trying to get them invested in your vision, whether they're investing in it or they're a co or a CTO or whatever you kind of need. But yeah, you in doing that, you eventually kind of owe them. You're in the act of owing them something. And I'm a big believer in the fact you don't want to owe anybody anything because it just screws up your relationship with them and gives you issues kind of at the end of the day just operating. So
Yep.
I think you could. I think people should just be more careful about that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, definitely do your due diligence, right? That's something that I probably didn't do enough of back then, but definitely do your due diligence.
So what kind of happened with Foreplay, at the end of the run there, and how did you start with the agency Mobile?
Yeah, so while we were kind of building Foreplay, I was doing all the marketing for it, essentially just because, I didn't have a marketing person, right? So I was learning everything about marketing and figuring that out. Long story short, we just ran out of money. I didn't want to keep trying to raise funding. Like I was burnt out from doing that. Like that's brutal when all you're trying to do is fundraise and, giving pitch after pitch after pitch. It just got really old after a while. I was exhausted from it. I just really didn't have the energy left to keep doing that. And then, the tech stack, there was a bunch of things that didn't work the way it's supposed to. And I just got to a point where I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to kind of step back from this, and just because I after years and years, I was a little burnt out. But when that ended, I really didn't know what I was doing next. I knew I was going to start another company. I just didn't know what yet. But, I had made a lot of connections and things like that while I was, building the company. And I had a couple of local businesses reach out to me asking if I could help them with like a website or with, some marketing. So I was like, oh, I'll help you guys out. I thought I'd just do that on the side till I figured something out. And that ultimately led into, building mobiles for real, right? Because as the word got out and I started getting more referrals and like, hey, I need help too, and so on, then it started growing fairly quickly. And I was like, well, let's do this for real. Like, I know marketing. I love marketing. I love solving problems. I love helping, businesses, look good. I'm very visual. So that really helped. I'm very creative. So I love being able to create, solutions for our clients. And yeah, it started out more as like a content marketing, social media agency. I was doing everything by myself at the time. Like I was everything, janitor to salesperson to whatever. And then as we continued to grow, kept looking at different things or trends in the market, how everything was going mobile, and things are always changing now, right? With BA and AI and all that kind of stuff. But I love that. Like I love, and that's one of the reasons why I named the company Mobile. It's because we have to be very fluid. We have to be very mobile. Things are going to change. You can't be stuck in this box and think it's always going to kind of stay that way. But yeah, and just made connections, grew quickly. And now we are a full stack digital agency. But our bread and butter is our lead generation appointment setting service. That's what most clients, that we work with are wanting and needing.
Nice. Yeah. I had done an ad tech company originally that I sold, didn't work out for reasons similar to kind of what you had happen with Foreplay. Then I did an agency, started literally exactly the same way. They just figuring out like, how can I make money? What can I do for people? Doing
Right.
all the roles, scaled, added like the lead gen service. So I'm very familiar with that. So walk me through, I guess, like what kind of clients do you serve? Like what does a typical client look like?
Yeah. So we have clients in every space, right? Everything like we have zoos and car dealerships and, stores, but mostly, especially in the last couple of years, we serve as B2B clients, right? Or
Nice.
SaaS companies, tech companies, and, companies that are looking for leads. We also work with a lot of other agencies and, we white label our services for them as well. And
Nice.
we have clients, I would say 85% are in the States, but we are starting to reach out globally, really targeting Australia, UK, Dubai. It's a hot market over there. So we're really starting to reach out there and getting some clients over that way. But yeah, for our lead gen appointment setting service, B2B, businesses, you know, business loans, if you're, companies that are looking to get demo presentation or, just qualify appointments on their calendar, a lot of service businesses, like if your pipeline is dead, you're dead, right? You have to have a vibrant pipeline, but to find leads, qualify leads and appointments, very difficult, time consuming. So we kind of take all of that off of their shoulders so they can more focus on just closing deals, and we'll take care of, finding them the deals to close.
Nice. So I guess how were you getting clients? Like, was it just referral based or like, for somebody who's like starting an agency, like what's the most effective way? And
Yeah. When I first started, it was, especially when you don't have a budget, right? To do ads and do, different things. It was really networking. You got to network like crazy. It's not, what it's who you know. So I was networking. I was going to every kind of networking event, you know, golf tournament to meet, business owners, chamber of commerce, just anything. And I was just Googling, right? And then just calling, emailing, and then using my connections and asking them if they knew any business that could need some help or whatever. Or I would look online and find, websites. And then if they look pretty bad, I would reach out to them, be like, hey, I can help you, get a new website. And social media was really a big thing too, now too. So definitely, getting on social media, growing your exposure, doing a lot of videos, getting on LinkedIn. So there's a lot of things you can do out there that don't cost you money. It costs you time and effort, right? But that's how you got to start. Like unless you have a buttload of money to put into running ads and hiring an agency or whatever, you just kind of have to, bootstrap it, cold call, cold email, do all of those things. But now we run the system that we sell. We run it for ourselves. So all my salespeople have the lead gen system in place for them, and they're constantly getting, book calls and leads and so on. So it's not what it was when I started, when I had to kind of do it all on my own, just cold calling, cold emailing. But there's no shortcut. There's no magic wand. You just have to do the work.
Yeah. So so your sales people are doing like outbound work. Do you have any inbound channels or are they working inbound channels at all as well?
Yeah. They're doing more inbound channels because we put the system in place for them. So the system that we sell to clients where we're generating them booked appointments and leads, we use it ourselves, right? So all my salespeople have that system in place for them, generating them leads and appointments. But again,
Nice.
they're doing outbound too, obviously. With any salesperson, you have to do outbound. You have to do cold emails and network and do all that other stuff.
Cool. So I guess what have you, in terms of like clients, like what have you found to like what channels have you found to work best for them? You mentioned like the appointment setting was like you're saying that you like started off full service and then you more kind of niched into that, or like can you walk us through that a little bit in terms of the
Yeah.
client services?
So it all depends on the client, right? What their situation is, who they're wanting to target. And, we're almost like consultants where we figure things out for them. We figure out what the best client is for them. So for instance, if we have a client that, their target audience is very local, right? And very niche, then yeah, our mass LinkedIn, email system isn't really going to work for them because we're going to run out of people to target very quickly. So with that, we have to be a little bit more, maybe targeted locally, do a lot of content stuff, videos, things like that. If we have a SaaS company that wants to book demos worldwide, yeah, it works perfectly because we can send out thousands of messages every single day, be very targeted. If it's a e-commerce, right, then obviously that's not going to work. We have to run ads. We have to run ads on, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. If it's a nonprofit, there's different things that we have to do there. So it all really depends on the client, what their goals are, who their target audience is, and then from that information, we customize like the right plan for them.
Got it. So you're really more of a generalist. So I guess, do you find that more difficult dealing, like with multiple different industries and kind of coming up with a strategy ad hoc as opposed
Not,
to like, well, doing
yeah,
one particular?
so yeah, not so much because when we're doing our outreach and getting inbound, we are targeting for our lead gen appointment setting service. So that's our kind of
Nice.
messaging and target. So we are, targeting that. But what comes from that is when we have a conversation with that business owner, then we can find things that they might need, right? So they might not have a website, or they might have a really outdated website, or their Google reviews are really bad, or they have no online, social media presence. So there's a lot of opportunities then to let them know, hey, we can do all the lead gen appointment setting, but you're also going to need to, get your Google reviews better, or your online reviews better, or you got to have a website, because as we're sending out messages, if they say like, hey, well, send me your website, and we send them to a website that's really outdated or not good, that's not gonna work, right? They're not gonna want to continue that conversation anymore. So it's all about making sure that whatever campaign we run, is going to have the maximum, or best chance to produce the results that we need. So, if they have really bad reviews, we can send out a gazillion messages, but if they look them up online and see that they got a 1.2 review, it's not going to matter. They're not going to want to do business with them, right? So then we have to fix that and so on. So we focus on our lead gen appointment setting service, but then it can lead to a lot of other things that they might need as well.
Nice. So what would you say, what's like the biggest pain point or challenge for you right now as opposed to, a few years ago in terms of where you are with mobile in the business?
I mean, growing is always painful, right? Growing is tough. You got to hire the right people, make sure that they are doing what they need to do. And then, it's easy when you're only working with 5 clients or 10 and you can just really focus on them, right? But when you have hundreds of clients, it gets a little more difficult. And then, it's just a growing pain. As you keep growing, you're going to have clients that, might be a headache to work with or not, aren't really a good fit. And with any marketing agency, right, there's no 100% guarantee that everything's going to work, right? There's no rhyme or reason why something doesn't work. Like we can't force somebody to want your services, or we can't, if we could know exactly what to do, what to say, all that, we would charge a lot more, but there's no way to know that, right? And you got some clients that, just get upset or because something doesn't work or whatever. There's limitations there's limitations of what we can and cannot do. Like if we do email marketing, we're blasting out the emails. We can't force somebody to open the email, right? We can't force somebody to reply to it. We can try to write the subject lines and do all the, split testing to, make sure that it gives, you the best chance. But again, there's no way we can control that. We can send it out. But that, that's just growing pains with any agency or service type business. Just as you grow, you're going to get, more headaches. You just got to have teams and people and systems in place to handle that growth, right? When I first started out, like I had a couple of car dealerships I was personally working with, and that was it. And I had no other, issues or whatnot. But the scary part about that is, though, if you only have 2 or 3 clients, if one of them were to leave, that pretty much kills your business, right? If you have hundreds of clients and a couple leave, no big deal. You can, get new clients all the time. So,
like further follow up on that, I guess. How are you pricing? Like, are you doing like locked in kind of contracts month to month, or just like saw that you had like packages on the side. So I think for agency, like why don't you walk me through it a little bit in light of that kind of question about, the clients walking away for you in kind of the early stages?
the best advice I ever got was to do monthly retainer pricing, right? Because if you just do pay me once, you literally are just like a roller coaster, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, right? You have to constantly get new clients. They pay you once and then they're done. We do have some things where it is just a one-time price, like if they're doing a website, right? Yeah, you pay us for the website, we'll bill to you, and then you just pay us like the monthly hosting. But I would say 90% of our services month to month, like if we're doing social media marketing for you, lead gen appointment, it's all monthly pricing. And, we have, minimum terms, and then it's month to month after that. But that puts skin in the game for us, right? To make sure that we are producing every month for them. Yeah, will some, drop off? Yeah, sure. But you're always getting new ones and so on. Like we work with a town here in South Carolina, and we're handling all of their marketing. The town of Hollywood. And, when we started with them, they had nothing, like literally nothing. And now we're really growing their presence, making sure that people know what's going on, doing a lot of, content, video content, professional content, things like that. So yeah, most of our plans are month to month. And if you run an agency, I would highly recommend you go month to month. You got to have monthly plans, because otherwise just, 1 month you're selling, and the next month you might not. And it's just up and down all the time. find ways where you can do monthly services, monthly plans, and then figure out how to grow that, right? And you're not going to be able to do it all by yourself. As you grow, you got to find the right people to be able to handle all that work, so on. But definitely do month to month.
Here's an interesting follow-up question, and I could talk about the retainer pricing and the modeling, all that stuff for days, but I think that I think a lot of that information is already out there. Do you find that the retention, how quickly the clients close, is it more due to what you're offering, right? So like the marketing outcomes, how well the marketing is doing, or obviously it's a human business, right? It's a service business. A lot of it is based on reputation, interaction, your employees' interaction with the clients. How much of it is due to that personal relationship and like your team being like more personable or just like relate better to the clients and deliver better service? Let's say other agency of people who they may have like different types of marketing tools, but they don't understand.
Yeah, I would say definitely both, but personable, right? Because a lot of the things that we do, it's not like exclusive to us, if that makes sense, right? Like doing social media marketing, doing videos, creating websites, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of other agencies and people that can do that. It's really a personal business, like, building relationships. I still have a client that we have now, and they were my very first client ever, right? And they're really good friends of mine now. So like B City Zoo was one of my very first clients ever, and they're still a client of mine. Stokes Volkswagen, Mike Mazzell, who's the GM, really close friend of mine, and we play golf together, and so like building a good network connection, right? And then making sure your team does that too is a game changer, right? Now, obviously your service has to be good, right? You can't just be like, oh, I'll build your website and you have no idea what you're doing. I'll get your leads and your system doesn't work or, whatever. So obviously your system has to work and be good. But on top of that, it's the customer service aspect, right? We pride ourselves on being available to our clients. So if they have an issue on Saturday or Sunday night or whatever, they all have Slack channels. They can message us, and as soon as we can get to it, we get to it. That's what we pride ourselves on, right? They can people, a lot of my clients have my phone number. They can text me, call me if they have an issue. We get to it right away. There's been instances where somebody needed help, on a Saturday night, and we got right back to them. Last night at like 9 p.m., I had a client reach out to me and needing an emergency website built or something, and got right back to him. So those kinds of things really do make a difference.
Yeah, I found that. So how has like hiring and team management been for you? Like, given what you were talking about was like Foreplay, like, have you found, one thing I find with like smaller agencies and agency owners is a lot of the clients like to deal with you, right? The boss, you know what I'm saying? The one who they've kind of established a relationship with. And, something that I found was like, I was like kind of jumping between clients, and it's tough to kind of not outsource the work, but just throw the relationship on the hands of like your team instead of you when you have the relationship with the client. So how do you manage that? And, in terms of hiring people or bringing people on, like what's your philosophy or how do you deal with that?
Yeah. So, hiring people, there's no 100%, proof that who you hire is the right person. And now it also has to be a good fit for them too, right? People have to realize that it's not just on you. It has to be a good fit for them. They have lives to live. They have things that they have to take care of. So we have to mutually make sure that it's a good fit. But really getting, like if it's salespeople, making sure that, they have like the trait that you have, right? And these are things that I'll ask them, entrepreneurship, are you competitive? Do you have thick skin? That this is going to be tough. Like, it's not just going to be cake where everybody tells you yes and things like that. So, are you going to be consistent, persistent, all that kind of stuff. And then just making sure that the people that you bring onto your team buy into your vision, buy into the culture, but then it's also how you treat them too, right? Making sure that they feel valued and they feel important. A lot of the things that I do when I bring on salespeople or whatever is I let them create their own titles. Like, I don't care what title you go with. And I want you to go with a big title because I want you to, feel important, right? And I don't ever demean them. I treat them almost like they are smarter than me, which they should be because that's why I'm hiring you. I want them to feel like they have ownership. And as they're building their clientele, or if I have a client that needs help, I'll introduce them to one of my, salespeople, and I'll build them up in the email or on the call, be like, hey, this is Brandon. He's going to work with, he's great. You're in good hands with him. He'll be able to take care of you better than myself, blah, 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 blah. So it's really always building people up. But on the other hand, also making sure that, they're accountable, right, for what they're supposed to be doing. I don't micromanage. I don't believe in that. All I believe in is the results that you produce. So it's not going to be, well, you got to, start working at 8 a.m. and stuff. But I don't care. Just produce, right? You're a professional. You know what you need to do. And I feel like if you treat people like professionals, they're going to act like professionals, right? If you treat people like less than, they're going to act less than.
Fair enough. Yeah, I agree with that. What are like your current goals for the business, or is there anything like that you're trying to achieve?
Yeah. So I definitely want to get to where I can not be so involved with every single campaign. And that's tough for me just because I'm passionate about it, right? Like I want to be making sure and so on. Not that I'm like a control freak or anything like that, but I do want to, be knowledgeable of every campaign and so on. And then my goal is I hired a couple of great salespeople here to start the year. I want all of them to, go beyond their financial goals, right? They all have kind of goals that they want to hit and things that they want to be able to do this year. I want to be able to help them, like overproduce all that, like, go beyond that. And that for me would be incredible. Obviously, because if they're doing that, that's our company growing really fast. But it's really just making sure that they have all that they need to reach those goals and help them reach those goals. That would be my biggest goal for this year, for all my team members to make more money than they have ever made. Because if that's the case, then, we're making more money than we've ever made.
Nice. What do you, any like sort of for other agency owners, just any sort of like financial advice or sort of budgeting, sales versus marketing versus hires, or anything that you've kind of learned as we're doing this business?
You gotta invest money into your growth, right? In the beginning, it was very tough for me to do that just because I wasn't making that much. And I was like, oh my God, I want to invest all this in this. And there's going to be times where the money you invest in something doesn't work, right? But you can't be scared to invest in your growth. And I see a lot of agency owners, and we talk to a lot of, not even agency owners, we talk to a lot of business owners who, when we tell them like, hey, we can help you grow, we can do this. Now, our prices aren't cheap. Like we have a premium service. And we talk to so many business owners who are afraid to invest in their growth. And the way I look at it is like, if you don't believe in your growth, we can't believe in your growth, right? Like if you don't believe you can close deals and you can grow your business, how are you going to expect us to produce those results for you, right? So there are a couple of there's a lot of business owners that we talk to every single day where we know they're not 100% in. We know that they're just kind of got their foot, or toe in the water, and they're afraid, right? They're like, oh man, like we talked to a client last year, and he was bringing in around 10,000 a month or so for his business, right? And our plan was, I think the plan that he was going for was like 2,500 a month. and we can get you all these leads and grow. And he was like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. And to me right there, I was like, why would you not invest in wanting to grow, right? And do you just want to stay at 10,000 or do you want to get to 20, 30, 40, 50, 100,000 a month, right? So the kinds that we work best with are the ones that have that kind of vision, right? That want to grow, that understand that they have to invest in their growth. Because if you don't believe in your growth, if you are scared to grow or whatever, there's not really much we can do to help you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. So what beyond the agency, you'd mentioned previously that you're working on like another kind of project, different type of company, maybe tied it all. You want to kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So the way my head works is I don't know when, but I'll just see something or hear something and, things just, come into my head like, oh, that could be a business or that could be a problem that needs to be solved or whatever. And I've always wanted to, figure out like, hey, there should be something in the golf industry that I could do, right? There's things that I see now that things could be done a lot better. But one of the things is I'm a big sneakerhead, and tying that into golf just made sense for me. So trying to figure out a way where, we can turn your sneakers into golf shoes and protect them at the same time without drilling holes into the shoes. There's a company out there that does that now. So it's a totally different business. I've never done physical products before. So it's learning, finding the right people. But now, from the past experience of making sure that I connect with the right people, bring on the right people and so on, I'm doing my due diligence and not just, jumping right into it and making kind of like the same mistakes I had before. And every day, like there's thoughts that come into my head, like, oh, that could be a great business idea, or that could be a great app idea, or, we should build an app for this and so on. I think 95% of them are garbage after you really think about it, right? So in the beginning, you're like, oh, that's a great idea. Then you really, just, look into it and either you see that it's already a problem that's been solved or whatever, or when you dive into it, like, yeah, that's probably not going to work. But I guess that's just how entrepreneurs and business owners, their heads work. You're always constantly, thinking of creative new ideas and things. And I think that's just how we're wired.
What what's the biggest advice you'd give to somebody who's just getting started, at whatever stage of life, but it's just like this is their first business. And what's the biggest?
So it's the advice that kind of I got, right? A couple of things. Number one, start, right? There's so many people that are waiting for like the right time or the best time or whatever. There's no best time. There's no right time, and all those people that talk about, oh, one day I'm going to do this or I'm going, I'm working on it or whatever. They never get started. They never get started ever. They'll talk for years about it and then they just not do anything. Right. So start is number one, just start. You're going to make mistakes. You're not going to have all the answers, whatever. It's going to suck in the beginning. You just have to jump. Right. My mentor told me it's like jumping off of a cliff and then figuring out how to build an airplane on the way down. Right. That's kind of like what it feels like. You're jumping and you're just figuring things out. And then just having grit. You got to have grit, and you got to be real with yourself. You can't be so, have blinders on where you don't listen to any advice. You just think, oh, this is just going to work and whatever. It's always going to be 10 times harder and longer than you think it's going to be. Always. Right. But don't be miserably comfortable. Right. I see so many people that are miserably comfortable, meaning they work at a job or whatever, and they want to start something or they want to get out, but they never do anything about it because they're comfortable, but they're miserable. All they do is go to the weekends and then just talk about doing something. Just do it, right? When I thought about the new golf sneaker idea or whatever. I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, you know what? But I can figure it out. There's the internet, right? There's things that I can look up. And then I started connecting and had calls, and you just start, right? And I think that's the biggest advice that I could give people. Just start, just start. If nothing else, you're going to learn a lot. You're going to figure things out. If you just think about it the whole time, it's not going to work, right? You're not going to learn how to play basketball by watching it on TV. You have to get out and play, right? And that's the same thing with entrepreneurship or business. You can watch Shark Tank all day long. You can watch YouTube videos, you know what a business is, but you have to actually go out there and do it. Otherwise, you're never ever gonna start or do anything.
Sure. Yeah, 100%. Michael, where can people find you if they want to work with the agency? What's the best way to get in touch?
Yeah. So, our website is gomobyle.com. That's GOMOBYLE.com. So it's gomobile.com. They can email me at mike@gomobile.com as well. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. But check out our website or just email me.
Nice. And one final bonus question. Thanks again for coming on. But if you're doing sales with a client, they offer to, or a potential client, and they offer to play golf with you, and you perform terribly on the golf field, does that screw up the deal? That's personal.
No. So I do golf with a lot of my clients. Okay. And I don't take it easy on them at all. I try to demolish them on the golf course. So it's not trying to let them win or whatever. No, I try to demolish them. And I've never had a deal not close because I played bad in golf.
Got it. Okay, Mike.
Appreciate it.
So I want to give a little context on this whole One Network BizBox product. What is it? How can you use it if you're an existing entrepreneur, if you're starting a business? So I'm going to offer this for free to people on our marketplace who want to start a business, because I'm not doing the business anymore. I don't need it. And then other people are going to offer their own stuff for their own niches. And then you're going to be able to take this and kind of run with it. So those are the thoughts. Let me know. If you're interested, just email me, Chris at onenetwork.app. The onenetwork.app.